Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. We are starting to see the beginning of the end of the woke leftist media. We've known that it's been unsustainable. Long-term projections are just not there. Or what I meant to say is, long-term projections of success aren't there. They have the potential to come back if some of these networks and publications start reforming themselves. But if they continue down the path of wokeness, it's a path paved straight to hell. And boy, are they learning the hard way. People are just not into it. Whether you're on the right or on the left, leftist media is a complete disgrace. Most moderate, honest people, regardless of what side of the political spectrum they're on, can see through the garbage of the mainstream media. The only people who continue to buy in are the crazed blue anon whack jobs. Those people are an extreme minority. If you build a business that is specifically tailored and catered to an extreme minority, well, you're talking about a real risky endeavor, because what happens if you slip up a couple times? Well, you're going to continue to shed viewers from that already small fractional base, and the more you slip up, the more you're going to lose, and there's not exactly much ground to gain. There's no room for growth because you've put yourself in a box. And that's exactly what the leftist media did in the Trump era. They put themselves in a box, and that box continues to shrink and shrink and shrink, and so the woke leftist media is being squeezed and squeezed and squeezed, and eventually, the whole thing's gonna implode. Well, folks, I think we're already seeing it as mass layoffs continue to hit the legacy media, with the Washington Post, BuzzFeed, and CNN, as well as some other outlets, laying off hundreds of employees, which is most likely gonna lead to maybe even over 1,000 or possibly thousands of employees, woke left journalists, looking for a job here pretty soon. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. Let's take a look. Let's talk about it. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so there's a viral video bouncing around all over the internet right now. We've got this clip from Clay Travis on Twitter. The Washington Post, which has lost 500,000 subscribers this past year, has announced layoffs are coming to the paper. The meeting didn't go well.
We're not going to turn the town hall into a grievance session.
It's not a grievance session. You just ask the question.
Brad, you talked about positions getting eliminated. What are you going to do to protect people's jobs? Are they going to be treated like the magazine staffers were?
We'll have more information as we move forward. Thank you very much.
And how will your positions be decided?
You seem to be disrespecting this.
Well, I guess it's finally time to learn to code now, isn't it? But there's one thing that I keep seeing that I find particularly perplexing. Why is it, or how is it, that these employees feel justified in their anger at the paper? You know, the same thing we saw with all the Twitter layoffs. These employees are angry and outraged. The individual reporting the news to them says, well, let's not make this a grievance fest. And I completely agree with him, because very simply, these employees have no right to grievance here. They don't have a legitimate grievance against the company. The Washington Post has lost over 500,000 subscribers since Biden took office. That was just reported by the Wall Street Journal on Thursday, as compared to the 3 million subscribers the publication had in January 2021. The Post currently has over 2.5 million subscribers. Sources with knowledge of the company's finances told the Wall Street Journal. Despite being on track to generate around $600 million in revenue in 2022, the Post is not expecting to make a profit this year. 500,000 subscribers is a serious chunk of change. Remember, the subscription model is money every single month. So we're talking about millions of dollars in revenue a month being lost down the drain. And understanding a business model like the Washington Post, there's a significant amount of overhead. And this year, the Washington Post is expected to not make a profit. Well, in an environment like that, do you, as a Washington Post employee, believe that you're entitled to your salary when the company is losing money? Once again, economically illiterate lefty activist journalists. They just don't get it. You are not entitled to a job, and you are especially not entitled to employment if you're working at a company and basically sending it into the ground by writing pieces like this. Perspective. Why doesn't Argentina have more black players in the World Cup? Oh, peak journalism. This individual on Twitter responded, because we are a country, not a Disney movie. I mean, when your journalism, or rather your journalism, is essentially one big fat joke, then what do you expect? when you're running a company into the ground. The same thing with Twitter. In 2021, if I'm not mistaken, Twitter lost $1 billion. Or that might have actually been 2020, and then 2021, I think they lost over $200 million. Meanwhile, they were paying Vijaya Gadde $17 million to do what? To ban Donald Trump with no reason, as we've pretty much found out from the Twitter files? Let's just ban him and then we'll figure it out later on how to justify it. You know, none of it makes sense. Elon Musk takes over, fires half of these clowns, and they're outraged and surprised. And now some employees are planning to sue Elon Musk in a class action lawsuit. What case do you think you have? None of it makes any sense at all. These people have no case, they have no grievance. Yet they get angry because they feel entitled to employment. If you feel entitled to employment, then I don't know, move to Canada or the UK. Go work for the CBC or the BBC, where people can write all the propaganda they want, and it's all subsidized by the taxpayer. Go work for a nationalized propaganda outlet, where you're essentially a government worker and you don't even need to make a profit to collect a paycheck. But if you're working for a private organization, well, then understand that you're putting out a product, and you need to create a quality product in order to draw consumers, and without doing that, the business is going to crumble, and that's what we're seeing. And honestly, it's a beautiful thing. You know, this woke nonsense, garbage, propaganda-fueled media is a serious problem, but once again, thankfully enough, the marketplace is solving the problem, at least to a certain extent. It's creating a little bit of accountability. You know, it's a great comparison, actually. If we look at the CBC in Canada, there's no reason for them to ever reform themselves because they're not beholden to consumers. They just collect over $1 billion a year from the tax base. I think it's around that number, if I'm not mistaken. And then they can just write whatever they want. They can hire journalists, pay them competitive wages, outcompete private enterprise in the same field, and just print a bunch of woke nonsense and never have to actually pay the ramifications or deal with the ramifications. Well, you can't really do that in a capitalist private enterprise world, and these wokey journalists are learning that the hard way. They're running these companies into the ground. The woke media is collapsing, it's imploding, and when the money dries up, well, very simply and almost instantaneously, the wokeness goes with it. And the Washington Post is next on the chopping block, with possibly a good chunk of the staff about to be told to clean and clear out their desk. And of course, they're not the only ones. BuzzFeed is now laying off 12% of its employees. The digital media company is letting go about 180 staffers amid challenging macroeconomic conditions. The Guardian UK is in panic mode, concern as US media hit with a wave of layoffs amid rise of disinformation. I have a feeling that's the disinformation. I have a feeling that we're going to be seeing a whole lot less dis and misinformation as these woke journalists are told to go packing and find a job at Starbucks, pretty much the only thing that they're actually qualified for. But so many of these woke publications are being hit and hit hard, and they're all saying the same thing: difficult macroeconomic situations or a slowing down economy, but really, that's not the case at all. Look at the Daily Wire, for instance. They're growing tremendously, they're expanding, they're starting all kinds of new projects, they're gaining subscribers at an astonishing rate, and it's very simply because they're producing compelling shows and documentary pieces and even movies. You know, I subscribe to a month of the Daily Wire every single time they release a big documentary. Whether it was Matt Walsh's What is a Woman or Candace Owens' Black Lives Matter documentary, they're producing good work, and so I'm giving them my money. I'm not a loyal subscriber, I don't keep it recurring the whole year long, but I'm still giving them revenue. And a lot of people are doing the same thing. Whether they're subscribed for a period of time or just subscribed all year, the network is growing because they're producing compelling work. Meanwhile, these woke legacy media garbage outlets, who are too scared to tackle actual important issues of corruption and societal plague, those companies are going under because they're producing a garbage product as a whole. It's that simple. You are not entitled to your employment, little wokies at the Washington Post. You have no grievance. We're seeing the job market do its thing, and it's absolutely beautiful. The end of the corporate woke media is upon us. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel if you guys are up for it. I'm gonna get out of here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.